Hey Omnidogs and Omnikittens, Omnidog here with an overview of the Deadman collection by Neal Adams from DC. It's a slipcase edition. It's standard size. It looks bigger, but it's a standard size. Let's pull it out. And there it is. Deadman started in 1967, ran through about 1970 with Neal Adams. It is the story of an acrobat, circus acrobat. There's the front cover, which looks pretty cool. It's a story of a circus acrobat that gets killed while performing and is allowed to roam the earth looking for his killer. And he ends up roaming the earth up until now, after I believe Ramakrishna, a being, allows him to keep roaming and helping people. Now, this has a really good table of contents. Arnold Drake originally came up with the character and wrote it. And the first issue is art by Carmine Infantino, and Neal Adams became famous for drawing it right after Carmine Infantino. Here's a little foreword by Neal Adams, foreword by the late great Arnold Drake, who also created Doom Patrol, and Carmine Infantino, the late great Carmine Infantino. And here we have the first issue with a cover by Carmine Infantino. And this is Infantino art, telling the story of Deadman. It's actually one of the cooler costumes, I think, in superheroes. Russos is the inker here on Infantino pencils. And we see the power of Infantino through this. And it's a compelling story that made me as a kid. This came out when I was a kid, a wee lad. Want me to read more? I have the original issues still. This is the second issue of Deadman and Strange Adventures, but let's skip that for now, because let's take a look at other Neal Adams artwork. And not only did Neal Adams draw these issues, but they even let him write a few issues back in the 60s, which I didn't know about until I got this book. Given my feelings about him as a writer, I don't like him as a writer. I'm surprised. I'm assuming the DC editorial must have exercised pretty strict control, because the stories were fairly decent. As I recall, even though I was a wee lad, I remember reading them in this book, liking them, and then finding out that Adams was the artist. I mean, the writer and the artist. But as you can see, these are original colors, pencils, and inks of Deadman looking for the hook who killed him. And it goes through the entire Neal Adams run, which takes you through 1970. And you finally find out who did kill Deadman. But as we're looking through this, and you see the Adams art, typical late 60s, 1970 art, shows how groundbreaking Neal Adams' artwork was. It's much different than the stuff at the time. Here's a Brave and Bold with it. It's much different than the stuff at the time. And he's famous for saying that if superheroes existed, this is what they would look like. Let's go back to the first Neal Adams issue in this collection. And there's something a little strange. Yeah, look at that. He went back, they let him go in, re-ink it, and recolor it completely in his modern style. This is awful. I mean, it's just, I have no idea why they let this happen. but it's jarring because you've got this modern style lumped in with this old stuff. I mean, take a look at the difference. It is just absolutely jarring, and there was no reason for it. His first inking and the coloring on it was fine. I can't imagine why they let him do that. It almost ruins the book. If they had let him do more than one, it would have ruined the book. But this shows the trials and tribulations of Deadman as he tries to find his killer. And they're good stories, I think, for the 70s and 60s. They were a lot different than stories at the time. Now, in the Neal Adams Batman Omnibus, you will see the difference. These were left untouched, but you can see the difference when he re-inks and recolors, just like the earlier pictures with his garish colors. They're in the Batman Omnibus, the re-inked and recolored ones. And it really robs it of its power, I think. This shows why Adams was so groundbreaking. This book, I think Deadman and then Green Lantern, Green Arrow with Dennis O'Neil writing showed what a remarkable artist he was. He's gotten older, a little more full of himself maybe. I don't know, but he's... maybe it's his studio that does the drawing and inking. I don't know, but it's his redoing of stuff is not something I'm digging. But this is Adams in all his glory. And it was pretty compelling. I remember really liking it. And this is another Batman one that I use as an example that is re-inked and recolored in the Batman Omnibus. This is dark showing night, and he amps it up and recolors it in the Batman Omnibus. But this Deadman one on matte paper really shows the power of Neal Adams' artwork back then. So this is the overview. It's not hard to find. It is out of print, but it's not... it was $75 cover price, so I certainly wouldn't pay more than that for it. You may be able to find it secondhand bookstores, something like that. This is a different penciler. This is penciled by George Tesca with Neal Adams inking. You can hardly tell that Neal Adams worked on this. And then in the back they have some covers of when it was reissued back in the 80s. Some of the covers that he did for the collection of Deadman. And that's pretty much it. And so there you go, because several of you asked for it. Some of you asked for it. Okay, one of you asked for it, Ray Kelly. There it is. The Neal Adams Deadman Collected Edition. The Neal Adams Collection. And there's the overview. I hope you can find it. I usually don't like reviewing or overviewing out-of-print books, but this one's not that hard to find. So if you dig it, good. Let me know if you have any other books you'd like overviewed in the comments. I'm happy to do it. Thanks. This is OmniDog talking to you. Please subscribe. Please pass the word along. I appreciate your viewing a lot. Thank you.